Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome INSA President Suzanne Wilson Heckenberg.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I am pleased to welcome you all to tonight's dinner. I hope you all enjoyed the receptions. Please feel free to start on your salads. If you could keep the conversation to a minimum, I would appreciate it. Tish Long, our chair, would appreciate it, and our guest of honor would appreciate it as well. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome General Timothy Haugh and his wife, Sherry, to the dinner. General Haugh, we thank you for your leadership and for your service to our nation and for making time to be with us this evening. I know the audience looks forward to hearing from you and learning about NSA and cybercom priorities. And let's not leave out the 25,000 strong at the CSS, the uniformed service members at Fort Meade and around the world who support NSA. Briefly, I would like to thank our sponsors this evening: Aerial Secure Technologies, AT&T, Amazon Web Services, CACI, Clearance Jobs, Deloitte, GDIT, Google for Government, Leidos, Lockheed Martin, Mantech, Microsoft, Nightwing, Oracle Cloud, SAIC, Strongbox Cyber Solutions, Texas A&M University Bush School of Government and Public Service, and Potomac Advocates. Please join me for a round of applause. And also special thanks to INSA Chairwoman Tish Long for leading the Q&A later this evening. Tish, I am sure you will keep General Haugh on his toes. We welcome our friends for the media here this evening. As a reminder, this event is being recorded and is on the press and is on our website early next week. If you have a question, please think about it, write it down. Our amazing graduate student interns will be roving around the room collecting your question cards. And first, I would like to introduce Ash Thankey, Director of National Security at Amazon Web Services. Ash, I welcome you to the stage.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Good evening, everyone. And can I just say thank you to Suzanne and Tish for just, putting all this together and doing an amazing job. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And thank you to the INSA team for the work that you do to bring together government, industry, and academia. We're really proud to sponsor this event and really proud of our partnership with the intelligence community for the past 10 years. We believe that the IC is more agile, more resilient, and more innovative because of this partnership. And simply put it, we at Amazon Web Services are unwavering in our commitment to our IC customers and supporting their critical national security missions. We are committed to your mission and supporting policymakers and warfighters. We are committed to delivering industry-leading commercial services into the classified environments. I'm going to quote Jeff Bezos here, so you're going to have to excuse me. I am not Jeff, but I'm going to do my best. When the world changes around you and when it changes against you, what used to be a tailwind is now a headwind. You have to lean into that and you have to figure out what to do, because complaining ain't the strategy. We're in a time of rapid change and advancement of new and exciting innovations. It can be a challenging road when creating change and innovating, but I'm incredibly hopeful as I look over this room of passionate individuals who care deeply about our nation's national security. It's now my honor and privilege to introduce an extraordinary IC leader. General Tim Haugh is the 4th Commander of US Cyber Command, the 19th Director of the National Security Agency, and Chief of the Central Security Service. He has commanded at the squadron, group, wing, numbered Air Force, and joint levels. General Haugh has served on staffs at Major Command, Agency, and Combatant Command Headquarters. His notable tours include Deputy Commander of Joint Task Force Ares, Commander of the Cyber National Mission Force, Commander of the 16th Air Force, and Deputy Commander of U.S. Cyber Command. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium General Tim Haugh.
All right, I'm definitely feeling the pressure of both before dinner and after dinner speaker. So good evening. It is a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start by thanking INSA, including President Heckenberg, Vice President Doyen, and the Board of Directors, for providing us an opportunity to be here tonight to discuss issues affecting our national security. For more than 40 years, INSA has supported the U.S. government and the intelligence community by strengthening public-private partnerships, bringing leaders and stakeholders together to collaborate and underpin national security objectives, and helping keep our nation safe. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to INSA and its leadership for their efforts last year to recognize the accomplishments of General Vince Stewart, and for establishing the Endowed Intelligence Career Pathways Scholarship in his name. Sherry and I were honored to be able to attend that event, and I know we've been touched to be remembered with such a worthy scholarship. Thank you very much. Tonight, we're here to tackle tough issues facing our nation, and it will come as no great surprise to this audience that the challenge facing our nation's leaders are many and rapidly evolving. Under my dual-hat authorities as Commander of U.S. Cyber Command and Director of the National Security Agency, one of my key areas of focus, day in and day out, is the threat we face from foreign cyber aggression and emerging technologies. The scope, scale, and complexity of which continues to grow. Keeping pace with the speed of advancement of emerging technologies is one of the greatest challenges we face as a nation. No longer do we operate in a strategic environment where it's the big who eat the small, but rather where the fast eat the slow. Fortunately, we are poised to succeed given the nation's many competitive advantages. Our economy, the backbone of our national security, our industrial base, our advanced technological prowess, the expertise and innovation of the American workforce, and the partnerships amongst us that create a deep capacity for identifying, addressing, and overcoming challenges. The unity of effort between Cyber Command and NSA is a perfect example of this type of partnership. With Cyber Command's rapidly expanding operational cyber capabilities, NSA's long history of developing key foreign intelligence and advancing the science of cybersecurity, the command and agency form a unique partnership with an unparalleled capacity for defending the interests of the United States and our allies. It's a partnership that is truly built to defend America. The increasing complexity and scope of the challenges from cyber and other emerging technologies require a concerted and unified strategic approach that leverages the unique attributes of all of our teammates. For Cyber Command and NSA, that means combining the skills of our cyber warriors with the unique foreign intelligence insights produced by our analysts. Although we are used to working behind the scenes, I can mention some notable successes that you might have heard about. Cyber Command helped thwart Russian cyber warfare in Europe through our Defend Forward operations, in concert with our foreign partners. NSA helped protect American industry against ransomware and cyber attacks through the issuing of more than 150 cyber-related publications. And NSA identified cyber intrusions like the PRC's Volt Typhoon with the potential to cause harm to infrastructure and networks around the world. We cannot, however, take any success and our existing advantages for granted. Not when the nature of the challenges we face is changing so quickly. It is essential that we lean forward in our combined missions to address our greatest threats, like those from emerging technologies. The United States has a long history of responding to critical security situations with exceptional speed and success. But the changing nature of warfare has altered the calculus. We can no longer afford ourselves the conceit that geography and distance will provide us sufficient time and space to respond to forward aggression. Victory in modern conflict will rest on how technically skilled we are to recognize, react to, overcome, and utilize emerging technologies that are revolutionizing war on land, in air, at sea, in space, and in cyberspace. I would argue that such technologies demand a fundamental shift in how we respond to external threats. Let me give you an example. Several years ago, senior military planners began discussing the challenges posed by adversary use of unmanned aerial vehicles. Although UAVs were recognized as a significant threat, it took years before we fully adapted to the shifting threat environment posed by their development, during which our adversaries were able to gain an advantage. The challenge posed today by cyber-related technologies like artificial intelligence represent a similar leap in the transformation of the battlefield and for our national security. We cannot wait years before making a concerted effort to understand, embrace, and exploit them. We must ensure that we are doing everything we can today, or we risk being overwhelmed by an adversary who has already taken full advantage of the technology. A critical part of the solution to this challenge, I believe, is leveraging our government, industry, and academic partnerships to act as force multipliers in the research, development, and security and operationalization of emerging technologies for national security like AI. In doing so, we will be better enabled to ensure an enduring advantage over our strategic competitors. Of course, working with our partners is not just about leveraging their strengths to meet our goals, but it's also about providing them with critical support through our strengths. We have made it a top priority to establish exceptionally strong relationships with one group of partners in particular, one that plays a critical role in national security, the defense industrial base. DIB companies represent an important partner because of both their unique capabilities and because they remain a frequent target of malicious cyber actors. These actors attempt to steal intellectual property and military secrets, using ransomware to blackmail U.S. companies and critical infrastructure, and causing long-term economic harm by slowing our technological and industrial advancement relative to their own. Thanks to the support of the DCIO and the Undersecretary of Intelligence and Security, under whose leadership this has been made possible, our partnership with the DIB has proven deeply and mutually beneficial in mitigating such efforts. We've been able to do so through a multitude of actions, including NSA's Cyber Collaboration Center, which provides free cybersecurity services to more than 1,000 DoD contractors. Working together, creating programs such as the Protective Domain Name Service, Attack Surface Management, and Threat Intelligence Collaboration, we have reduced economic impact from cyber incidents, industrial espionage, enhanced protection of sensitive DoD information that resides on privately owned and managed networks, and fostered a more secure environment for defense technology investments to mature, contributing to the nation's continuing advantage over our global competitors. Adding to this list, I'm excited to announce a new service called Autonomous Penetration Testing, which will provide a commercial solution for fully customizable, AI-driven penetration testing to replace a previously manual process. It will enable DIB customers to more quickly run penetration tests of their internal assets, identify issues, implement mitigations, and confirm effective closure of any identified vulnerabilities. In effect, our industry partners will be able to identify potential issues before cyber actors have an opportunity to devise exploits against them. This will be a game changer for our DIB partners and represents another way we are using partnerships to protect U.S. interests. Artificial intelligence is a huge part of the reason we're able to provide this capability to our partners, and it remains a critical focus as we look to harnessing its potential. At both Cyber Command and NSA, we have been leveraging AI and machine learning for decades and continue to explore means of advancing its use. Within Cyber Command, we have established an AI task force to move us from an opportunistic application of AI to a systemic approach driven by our strategic and tactical objectives, with 3 important outcomes: delivering an AI capability for cyber mission force operations, enabling better integration of AI for efforts like continuous monitoring of malicious cyber activity, posturing the command to enable AI adoption at scale, and staying laser-focused on countering AI threats and exploiting the opportunities as they emerge. NSA, meanwhile, remains a leader in driving AI adoption for national security outcomes and ensuring that our most important national security systems are protected against AI threats. For example, within the past year, NSA has piloted generative AI capabilities for more than 7,000 analysts who are learning how to adapt, using it for our intelligence, cybersecurity, and business workflows. The feedback we've received from the workforce has been overwhelmingly positive, helping our analysts work smarter and better. It's important, however, to look at AI more than just as a means to enhance our capabilities. As one of the DoD's directive established the importance of a safe, secure, and trustworthy AI, we are focused on how it's used. One of the ways we're going at great lengths at NSA to minimize the risk of generative AI is by establishing a robust AI governance process, guided by a chief responsible AI officer, which will ensure that privacy rights are fully preserved and any adoption of advanced AI occurs legally, compliantly, and securely. NSA is also dedicated to sharing what we learn through these efforts with the broader community. And later this year, we will be partnering with the National Cryptologic Foundation to host a conference on managing high-impact AI national security applications, where we plan to share our experiences and know-how and listen to the perspective of other AI stakeholders. AI, like many of today's global national security challenges, is simply too vast a challenge to tackle alone, which is why we are dedicated to bringing together the unique skills, knowledge, and talent on AI from all facets of our society. We should also make no mistake that apart from AI's impact on the economic, societal, and industrial elements of our society, it will also be a major factor in future conflict. From automated drones to enhanced battlefield awareness for troops, and even for the viability of encrypted networks, AI will have a direct impact on every aspect of near-future warfare. We must be sure that we can protect the warfighter, our most essential national security systems, and our DIB infrastructure against adversaries who would leverage AI for their advantage in these areas. With tensions in the Pacific, ongoing conflict in Europe, and our elections just around the corner, these are not theoretical discussions. They are important today, and we must ensure that we are doing everything we can as a nation to maintain our competitive advantage and protect our citizens. Working together with key allies at home and abroad, Cyber Command and NSA are leading DoD and IC efforts to ensure that the nation is prepared for the potential threat that AI, cybersecurity, and other emerging technologies will play tomorrow, so that our competitive advantages endure. Thanks again to President Heckenberg and everyone at INSA who put on tonight's event. I'm looking forward to be able to have an additional discussion with you in a really open and engaging way, and diving deeper into each of these topics in the fireside chat. Please enjoy your dinner.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage INSA President Suzanne Wilson Heckenberg.
I hope everyone enjoyed your dinner. As you'll see, many of you all have had dessert and coffee, and if you have not, please take a moment to enjoy that as well. Before we dive into the program, if I can just take a moment and let you all know, I'm excited to let you guys know that the Intelligence and National Security Summit is less than a month away. This is our 11th summit that we partner with AFCEA on. The event will take place August 27th and 28th at the Bethesda North Marriott Hotel and Conference Center. In my mind, I'm going to the Gaylord, where we've had it for the past 7 years, but it's in Bethesda this year. We have an amazing lineup of speakers and are expecting over 2,000 attendees. You can learn more about the event on our website. On September 11th and 12th, the mighty INSA team will be traveling to Colorado for our Common Threads program. This year's event focuses on space ISR and includes a keynote from Jenna Seidel, Director of NSA CSS Colorado, and our unclassified evening speaker will be Sandra Octor, Director of NGA Denver, along with additional speakers to be announced soon. This is always a terrific event. I love to see a lot of our DC area peeps show up for this, so please check our website for further details. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator of this evening's discussion, Tish Long. Tish is INSA's chairman, and her career accomplishments include serving as Director of NGA, Director of DIA, Principal Deputy Director Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence, just to name a few. Added to that illustrious career, this year marks Tish's 9th year as chairwoman of INSA. We are honored to have her lead this evening's discussion. Please join me in welcoming both she and General Haugh to this evening's conversation. Thank you.
Got it, Suzanne. Thank you, Suzanne. And General Haugh, it is so nice to be sharing the stage with you this evening. Great remarks to get this conversation started. And, let's start with the threat. You talked about the threat in general terms in your remarks. Let's talk a little more specifics. And you've certainly been talking about this, the pacing threats, China, Russia, certainly the war in Gaza, Iranian aggression, cyber. How are NSA and Cyber Command keeping up with everything, especially as threats shift?
Yeah, Tish, it's certainly my honor tonight to be here with all of you and excited to share the stage with you. As I think about the threats, really, you can see across the globe today that there are a number of things that are setting the conditions for national security as we move forward really for the next few decades. When we look at the war in Europe, a land war in Europe that has now gone on for 2.5 years, based off Russia's unlawful invasion of Ukraine, that's going to set the security environment in Europe for at least the next decade. How that conflict ends will likely set the conditions for multiple decades. So that's certainly an area that we've had to maintain a focus. In terms of what it looks like today in the Middle East and all the decisions that we've made over the last 5 years as we think about priorities have certainly now been challenged by the Hamas horrific terrorist attack on Israel and then the resulting Israeli response and what that has meant for the region. And in many cases, what that has meant for the threat to U.S. forces that are in the region. So that demand signal has also changed pretty significantly. And then, of course, our priority is the strategic competition with China. It's identified clearly in the National Defense Strategy. It's very clear in the National Intelligence Strategy. So I've been really proud of how both organizations have managed the demand signal. When we think about how we approach strategic competition versus these global activities, that in and of itself is leadership art. And I really give credit to our leaders across NSA and Cyber Command that have really been thoughtful of how we position ourselves. And when we think about committing resources to our pacing challenge, we have to sustain that. China is the one nation that can challenge the United States and really how the world has been governed, and can challenge our economy, can challenge us militarily. And so we have to maintain that focus. But we have to maintain a global agility that keeps us aligned to the challenges that our policymakers and our military commanders need. So that balancing act has been stretched. There's no doubt about it, right? These are many substantive things going on. And then we'll have activities like suddenly a crisis in Haiti, which of course we're also going to commit resources to.
Or coups in Africa.
100%. So as we look at that, that is going to be our continuing challenge. How do we balance it? I think from an NSA perspective, we've done a very good job of balancing that between our commitment to strategic competition and then how we balance the risk in the other areas. From a Cyber Command perspective, I think we really benefit from how we structured. So as we've gone through 3 years of support to EUCOM, from a Cyber Command perspective, we have a component dedicated to that support. So 16th Air Force and AF Cyber every day, General Kennedy, and then by the end of the week, Crypto Hensley, they wake up thinking about how they help General Cavoli. And the same thing, we have a Vice Admiral Clapperton that is focused on Indo-PACOM and ensuring that regardless of what else is happening around the world, he is in support of whatever Admiral Paparo needs. And similarly, Maria Barrett that sits down in Georgia, focused on General Kurilla. So that structure allows us to maintain alignment and recognize that we're always committed. And then our Cyber National Mission Force and our Joint Force Headquarters Doden focus globally. And so they have a similar managing of their resources, but it has positioned us, and the department has positioned us to be able to have agility to be able to address each of those things. But I couldn't be more proud of the leaders in the organizations that have enabled that.
Well, that tone starts at the top. We'll come back to a couple of things that you mentioned, but one of the things you said in your opening remarks as far as the threat and dealing with the threat is, it used to be that the big eat the small, now it's the fast eat the slow. So as you think about that and you think about your priorities, what are your areas of focus? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities?
Yeah. For us, it's really straightforward to me. It's about people, it's about innovation, and it's about partnerships. And bar none, the advantage that we create every day is through the talent that we have in NSA and Cyber Command. And we're a unique workforce. The technical capabilities, the background, the ability to do deep technical work as part of the government, and then be able to partner with industry, to be able to partner with it internationally, that workforce is the pass-fail criteria for me as a leader, right? That is the most important thing. So when we look at what are the priorities, it's about ensuring that we sustain the talent to do the things the nation needs us to do. And that means we're also going to be working with, just like all of you, we're going through generational changes. And so how do we adapt as an organization? How do we ensure that those partnerships that we've had with universities that bring talent into the organization, they understand who we are, what our culture is, how we value everybody in the organization, how we want them to succeed. So it's about people first. Innovation is where we have to be able to move at speed. And there are pieces, there are portions of our organization that we can move very quickly. The underpinnings of that is our infrastructure. And that, in many ways, is done with partnership with many of you. Mm-hmm. That when we think about the infrastructure and the underpinnings, if we look at NSA, that analytic capacity, our ability to ensure we've got compute, those are things that are foundational to ensuring that we can handle the amount of data that we process every day. From a Cyber Command perspective, it's a really exciting time. New organization with new authorities, like we're young. We got our first authorities to really operate in cyberspace in 2018. And now we have the authorities to be service-like. How do we take advantage of that to really move quickly? And we can talk more about that. But the other thing that's really exciting is the partnerships. I learned quickly on day one how many partners we had. Because for NSA and Cyber Command, I signed 104 letters for international partners on day one. That's an important part of who we are and what we do. And that has changed a lot from a Cyber Command perspective, but it's foundational to the National Security Agency. And then the partnership with industry and what that looks like. When we think about the threat from China and we think about economic security and technology security, this isn't you and us, it's us. Because China is coming for the technology. They want to steal that innovation because that's the strength of our economy. And we have to protect that together. So as we think about partnerships, those are absolutely crucial.
And it is your IP that China is coming after. Just a reminder, as far as partnerships, questions. I have plenty of questions for us to be here all night, but I do want to ask your questions also. So there are cards on all of your tables if anyone has a question. So keying off a couple of things you said there, you said people, innovation, and partnerships. So let's take the people and innovation. We were talking at dinner about hiring. What are some of the innovative things that you're thinking about as far as hiring and bringing talent into the agency?
So I think number one is
and Cyber Command.
Yeah, I'll start. It's probably
it's more on the NSA side.
Well, I think it's both. And the reason I'll give you both is Congress has given us a lot of authorities. And they're giving us the opportunity to innovate. And we have to take full advantage of that. In how we hire, how we compensate, how we bring in talent, we've got a lot of options. And I think what we've also been given by the department is a lot of flexibility to certainly not be competitive with industry, but to make that deficit smaller in ways that we're rewarding certain areas. Like we're able, from a technical perspective, use those authorities to retain talent. And I think that's part of what we've got to really be focused on. The other area that is just incredible opportunity space is NSA's partnerships with universities and the role that NSA plays to provide curriculum from a cyber perspective, to have partnerships with research with over 400 universities. That is opportunity space for us. Today we recruit from a subset of that, but there is an opportunity for us to ensure that we're representative of the nation and reach out to parts that are underrepresented in the US government. That we have underrepresented communities, certainly as we look across our STEM population, Hispanic, Latino, underserved inside of the US government, we actually have connections with all of the Hispanic, Latino serving universities. How do we capitalize on that and really bring that talent into the US government?
Good. Let's talk about AI. It's both a challenge and an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And you've been out there talking a little bit about it, and again in your remarks, you talked a little bit about both the AI Security Center as well as Cyber Command's AI Task Force. So how do those two entities support one another? And certainly the AI Security Center has been up and running for over a year now. Mm-hmm. How's it going? How can industry help you there?
So I think one thing industry can do is give us feedback. The AI Security Center, one of the things that they are doing is they're producing products that identify vulnerabilities in large language models, how large language models can be secured, how large language models can be targeted by nation states. So we're putting out unclassified products that start that discussion with industry. And what we really want to do is ensure that we're reaching into those small businesses that are bringing unique intellectual property, but maybe don't have the infrastructure that larger AI-focused companies have. So that's one area of the AI Security Center. The other thing that the AI Security Center is really starting to build their foundation is being an advisor to the rest of government. Because we want to ensure that we are protecting any of the models we're using, the technology we're using, and ensuring we're doing that in a way that certainly is compliant and responsible. On the Cyber Command side, what we really made the decision, Congress had asked us to do an AI roadmap, and it was a combination of Cyber Command, CIO, and CDAO to put together a 5-year roadmap for U.S. Cyber Command to really be a technology leader in how the department considers the use of AI as it relates to cyberspace operations, and really be a catalyst in how we partner with the services. So we've done that, we briefed it out to Congress, and to really accelerate it, we created an AI task force. But what the decision that we made is we put it inside of our largest operational organization. So it's inside the Cyber National Mission Force. So Major General Lorna Malik has that team of expertise as a tool that when she's got a hard problem, she can use that task force as one of the solutions. And really the collaboration that's going on between NSA and Cyber Command really allows us to build a community of practice that we're both learning together. And in different times, we'll also look to how do we share compute resources, things like that, to really allow us to scale and do so faster. So I think those opportunities for us, we really can be unique in the department with our workforce and with the way that we apply both our experience in AI and ML, because certainly NSA has done that for decades. But now how do we bring that to other partners in the government? We think there's still a lot more we can do there.
And a great recruiting tool, because you really are on the cutting edge. I mean, I've got over a dozen questions already. I'm gonna shift to a couple because these are both about AI.
I like the analog questions, by the way.
Yeah, high tech here. We've used iPads, iPhones. You don't always have the connectivity. You never know. Agree. When you're in a public venue, you never know. So we've reverted. How do we combat the adversaries' advances? I'm adding some of my own. How do we combat the adversaries' advances in AI with AI, and how do we this is complementary. How do we ensure our AI is smarter than our adversaries?
Well, I think there's a couple things that we should draw some distinctions, I think, in how we will think about the use of this and how our competitors in China think about this. Mm-hmm. Because from our perspective, we are always going to be deliberate in what data we use and how we use it. Because we're going to start with the civil liberties and privacy of every American. That will be foundational in how we approach that. Whereas China has really, the area that they have been a leader is in how do you control a population using this class of technology. So I think in those areas, we just have to recognize there are going to be things that we do that we have to be deliberate. So that means we better be effective in the areas that we go after and how we invest and which things we focus on. And so I think from that perspective, one of the things that I think we have learned really on the NSA side is we've got over 170 different things that are going on from an AI project perspective. But there's really about 10 of those that we have to ensure from a national security perspective are awesome. Those other 160, we want to create opportunities for people to experiment, leverage, compliantly use. And some of those will become things that could be just as critical. But those 10, we got to get right. Because those are the things that are going to allow us to bring advantage to our nation. And that focus is the one that we ensure that we can deliver compute for it, that we can make sure the right data is available, make sure that we've got the right leaders that can both develop the workforce around those projects. And I think that's what we've learned over time. One of the other core lessons that we learned in our early implementation of AI is the partnership with research and what it means to be able to really look forward on the technology. And NSA invested an enormous amount of time in large language models focused on translation. And that became a foundational area for us to learn through. That's now become routine for all of us, but that technology drove really a number of advances inside the National Security Agency decades ago. and how we learned about that, and how we were able to build that partnership with research universities to advance it, critical. There's opportunities to replicate that here.
So how can industry help?
So I think first and foremost, one, we want to help you protect your intellectual property. And so that means you, if you are a part of the defense industrial base, call the Cyber Collaboration Center. Sign up to be one of our DIB partners. And what that means is you'll get analytic exchanges with us. We'll be able to give you threat information, but we can also now get in your foxhole with you to understand what you're seeing, how you're being targeted, and that allows us to also then be able to bring our strengths to understanding what those threats look like. I think that's an area of partnership and collaboration. The other big area that I think we're all going to go through together is what is compute going to look like? What's it going to look like a year from now? What's it going to look like 5 years from now? Those are going to be really critical decisions from a national security perspective in how we approach that and how we position the entire intelligence community, and then how our partners internationally also posture themselves. And in many cases, they're really looking for our insights as to the choices that we're making. So I think there's opportunities there for public-private partnership, and how those are going to look, I think in the future, will potentially be radically different than they look today.
So how about using AI to fuse SIGINT with other INTs? How are you thinking about that?
Are there other INTs? Oh. Sorry, it was just right there on a T. I had to hit it.
You know, I actually said the agency earlier, and you know the agency is NGA. I mean, right? So, are there other INTs?
So this is, I think, NSA is pretty proud of the role that we have in IC Gov Cloud. And I think that's part of the foundation of how we can collaborate, how we can share data, and how we combine data sets that are going to allow us to enrich. That work is underway, and I think that's one really good example of places where we can gain advantage. I think the other that is just so commonplace to us, but is different for our competitors, is we have are so embedded in each other's agencies in terms of daily, just part of what we do in collaboration. And we have international partnerships that are true partnerships. And those offer the same opportunity. And certainly our competitors don't have partnerships.
Not the way the United States has, that's for sure. So we talked a little bit about priorities, and there are a number of questions in here. And I actually had a question teed up about election security. Certainly must be one of your priorities right now. I mean, it's been an ongoing priority that your predecessor talked about. So just, and I think you have what is called an election security group working to just coordinate that across the board. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. This is the 4th election cycle that NSA and Cyber Command have focused on election security. And it's our honor every day to partner with Homeland Security and the FBI as the team looks to ensure a safe and secure election. And our focus is on foreign threats. And from an NSA and Cyber Command perspective, we have approached this in each election cycle the same way. We've got 3 lines of effort that we focus on. First is generating insights. We have to be able to articulate the threat. We have to be able to do that with our partners for both the FBI and DHS to be able to share information. We've got to be able to identify those threats and also be able to communicate with the American people about what those threats are from a foreign perspective. So generating insights. The second line of effort is about enabling defense. So if we have insights, who needs them to be able to enable a safe and secure election? That can be working with our CISA partners to ensure that state, local, and tribal election officials understand the threats that they may face, either to their workers or to election systems, or from a disinformation perspective. We want to make sure they've got the best understanding that we have. from a cyber or a disinformation standpoint. And then finally, we have to be able to deliver options if there's a clear threat that we owe options to our policymakers to ensure that we can mitigate threats collectively. So we're doing that. We've built our team. Our team has been at this now for almost 6 months. We've got a clear understanding of what the threats look like. And from our perspective, the team is just doing an exceptional job across the federal government to collaborate and ensure that we're working every day to ensure a safe and secure election.
We thank you. You've talked a little bit about collaboration. I mean, again, you brought it up in your initial priorities, partnerships, but and you also mentioned under-advisement. Can you provide an update on the under-advisement and maybe even explain what it is for some of the folks here in the room, the under-advisement initiative, and how DIB companies can get involved if they are not familiar?
Yeah, so there's really two ways that NSA and Cyber Command connect with industry. And this is an example where the Department of Defense, or Congress and the Department of Defense have given us authorities that allow us a more direct interaction with industry. If you would go back 5 to 10 years, we would not have been able to, we were not authorized to share information directly with industry. And the department now has asked both NSA and Cyber Command to increase our relationship with industry. And it's really about speed. How do we move more quickly? How do we collaborate? And so the Cyber Collaboration Center is our team in NSA that was built as part of our cybersecurity directorate to build relationships with the defense industrial base. Funded to be able to provide services to the DIB, but really it's also an analytic collaboration. So we're right now over 1,200 DIB companies that are partners with the Cyber Collaboration Center. So that's our NSA, everyday people working in an unclassed environment to be able to collaborate with industry and to bring our insights and tools to the defense industrial base. On the Cyber Command side, we were given similar authorities from Congress that were around collaborating with industry that allowed us to think about defensive operations and how we collaborate to generate options within cyberspace. And that collaboration is a subset of similar DIB companies, but it's really about collective defense. How do we collaborate together? And from a Cyber Command standpoint, we get insights that look different. We've deployed teams to across the globe to be able to partner in foreign networks. And so we get a very different sight picture of what the threat looks like from inside those foreign networks, where we collaborate with foreign nations and foreign militaries to defend their networks. You see how a foreign actor is targeting another nation. We're able to report on that. We're able to expose it and help those countries remediate it. But that's data we can now bring back to a different context to share with industry. Some of that we'll do through public disclosures, and you'll see various cyber products that either NSA or Cyber Command will put out. And those become a foundational start point for the discussion. I'll brag on our teammates in the FBI. We just did an excellent collaborative product that went out last week, and it was about North Korean cyber actors. And the insights that FBI was able to bring into that we were able to, and NSA and Cyber Command add to, that identified how North Korea is using cyber to fund military advancements. We put that out as an unclassified advisory. So now both industry, our foreign partners, can take action against the methods, the TTPs the North Koreans are using. Because industry's reach is going to be farther than ours when we think about what the infrastructure looks like in cyberspace. So those collaborations, critically important.
I'm just sitting here thinking, even 5 years ago, we wouldn't be putting out advisories like that. We wouldn't be talking about North Korea's cyber capabilities. We weren't even talking about hunt forward, or defending. So it really is extraordinary, the transparency and the openness that has occurred. Is there anything you'd like to say about North Korea's cyber capabilities?
So I think if you read it, I think you'd all be surprised at how North Korea, with a nation that chooses not to feed its citizens, how it's invested in cyber capabilities to be able to generate revenue to fund its advancement of its programs. So I think I'd commend all of you to go take a look. You can go search for North Korea revenue generation, and we're excited that those are examples of unclassified products that we want to share broadly.
And I think some folks in this room know because they've recruited unknowingly some North Koreans as their IT experts. Now they find out when they actually don't show up for work, but I mean, the North Koreans really are using some pretty innovative techniques. So I'm glad, as a private citizen, that you're putting those advisories out. Anything more you want to say about Hunt Forward? And really, again, the successes that you've had there, and any help you might need.
Yeah, I think this is one that when we started this in 2018, and the first operations we did that were actually surrounding the 2018 midterm elections, where we wanted to be able to go and be able to identify specific Russian activity in other networks so that we could release it. And we partnered with another number of nations to help them be more secure, but it also really helped us defend our elections. When we started there, it really, what it has evolved into, we didn't see coming, because it's powerful. If we have one of our partners come to the Department of Defense and say, we need help, we have networks that we believe are penetrated and we need help. And the United States and the Department of Defense, we send a team of a dozen of our best military to go there, work with that other nation, be able to help them identify this threat, solve their problem, and then in many of those cases, they ask that team to outbrief with their Minister of Defense or with their Prime Minister and to talk to them about what they found. And each one of them, it's now a partnership that is tighter and tighter, because when they called, America showed up and we sent our best. And so we have a partnership angle to that is just so powerful, because now we can repeat that, we can build on that, and we can do other things together that are going to be beneficial to both our nations. From our cybersecurity perspective, everything we do in those operations is unclassified. So we can find the best tool out there, and we can put it in VirusTotal that afternoon. We can take it apart. We can report on it unclassified. We can share it, and then we can have conversations with you all about how that could potentially impact you. So it's been really powerful, and we're going to continue to advance our tradecraft. We're now putting AI into the kits. We're doing a number of things to be able to make them even more effective. But it is a powerful statement when we respond to those type of requests, and it's a highly trained military force that goes and addresses it.
I think that covers the collaboration and partnerships arena. You talked about new authorities for Cyber Command. You want to expand on that? Yeah,
this is, we have had a really good partnership with the Armed Services Committees in both the Senate and the House for U.S. Cyber Command. They are interested in ensuring the Department of Defense continues to advance in cyberspace, and they've done a number of things that have been really helpful. When we got our first authorities in 2018, that was really first driven by Congress of recognizing that cyber is a domain of warfighting. And that change in law in 2018 started to unlock a number of things. And what the department's vision for Cyber Command has been, how do we build and leverage the model that SOCOM had to be service-like, but to produce a unique capability for our nation? How do we replicate those types of authorities, but do it unique to cyberspace? And so now those authorities mean that we were given control of the offensive and defensive budget for our cyber mission force. We are the responsible element in the Department of Defense to validate requirements on behalf of the Joint Requirements Oversight Council. And we have the acquisition authority to integrate and acquire the architecture that our operators use for offensive and defensive cyberspace operations. So those things together, really the acquisition authority and the ability now to partner with industry, that's under Cyber Command control and responsibility. This gets us at speed. Previously, our programs were divided up amongst the services, and no one had the responsibility to integrate them. You've all lived this dream, right? That's a very difficult task. We now have the responsibility to integrate the programs that support our force. We drive that requirements, and we're making pretty significant changes to how we will deliver those capabilities under our own acquisition authorities. So that becomes a great opportunity. The other area that Congress has enabled is every year I'm required to send a report back to Congress. It's a report on the service's ability to meet the readiness requirements of U.S. Cyber Command. And this is an area that's evolved over time. But what we've really seen since we've done this report is a collaboration with the services. There are a whole series of initiatives for them to use the authorities Congress has given us to retain our force. And Congress is watching that closely, but we've now been able to make readiness advancements that have really been driven by our partnership with the services. But it's based off of the fact that we now have a set of authorities and we're collaborating as a service-like organization. And it's been really powerful, and we're really pleased with the progress that we're making.
And so have you been able to identify solutions or synergies there to improve readiness, to improve training and force generation?
Absolutely. So things that examples. So the Army has a program where they do advanced cyber pay based off of the qualifications of the individual. And now we can talk about how do you reward somebody not for being a cyber operator, how do you reward them for being a great cyber operator, right? We want to be rewarding proficiency and mastery, and Congress has given those tools. And so those are being implemented by the services. We've seen other things that in our first budget that we were given, so this is the first year that we have budget control, we were able to put a significant amount of money into advanced training. Whereas before, that would have been a request to a service, could each of you grow the training budget that it would make our force better? Now that's a responsibility of U.S. Cyber Command, and we could commit our resources to focus on growing the mastery of our force. Already seeing benefits from that based off decisions the department had previously made in building Cyber Center of Excellence. So those are a couple examples, but there's things each service is doing. The Air Force announced yesterday the first warrant officers. Those are going to be in cyber. So that's an example of a service that is now investing in ways that are going to help our force. The Navy has cyber rating for cyberspace for the first time. Every one of those individuals in that rating are going to serve at NSA and Cyber Command. And so that partnership is growing. So we're really pleased. The progress, we want each service to implement each of the great ideas of the other services. That's our next step. But we're pleased with the progress, and now that we have the authorities, I think we're going to be able to advance it even more.
So we've been given the 5-minute warning. So let's move into a lightning round. Now, some of these questions, they're going to be tough for a lightning round, but I know you're up to it. How about, given what we were just talking about, are we going to have a cyber force?
I'm focused on U.S. Cyber Command, right? And growing the best capabilities that we have. And that certainly is something that's outside my span of control. We're going to have the best cyber command we can have.
But I think you might have a tasker coming your way soon if the FY25 NDAA language gets adopted, right?
This is lightning round.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Quantum threat, quantum advantage. Where are we?
So we're focused right now on ensuring that from our perspective, the National Security Agency, one of the best things we do is make code. We're making quantum resistant code. from an encryption perspective. We want to be focused on being in front of that potential threat. We're also really proud of the research we've done in quantum. A lot of the advancements that have occurred in quantum were funded by the National Security Agency. So we want to keep that partnership to look for opportunities where we can leverage quantum, but we also want to be really clear-eyed about the threats, and we want to be ready from an encryption perspective.
What are your thoughts, your vision on a cyber intelligence center?
So this is an area we've talked with Congress many times. And where what we've really done now is there definitely is a gap in how we think about cyberspace as a warfighting domain. It is different, and you'll appreciate, right? When our targeting process is so built around the physical location. So this does bring complexity that looks very different when we start to think about applying all of the tradecraft that we've done for decades on how we target. Mm-hmm. So building that foundation is an area that we're continuing to work with the department. Now what Jeff Cruz and I have agreed to is we're doing a series of pilots to look at problem sets to see how the broader intelligence enterprise can help enable Cyber Command from a foundational intelligence perspective. So we're going to take those pilots, we're going to bring them back into the department to say this is what we think are what the lessons that we've learned and how we can close that gap from a foundational intelligence perspective.
Now, I don't know if you, Lynn Bingle, asked that question or not, but when I was Deputy Director DIA, we were talking about a cyber intel center. So I'm really glad to hear that you and Jeff are working some pilots there, because it's really important. And then at NGA, trying to, do the whole geospatial intelligence aspects of cyberspace. So a lot of work can be done there. You mentioned in your remarks, and there have been a couple questions on this, and I was curious, autonomous penetration testing. Can you just expand on that, when it began, and or when will it begin?
So previously, we've all worked with various sets of tools that allow us to do pen testing. Many of those use an operator to do many of the functions. So we're leveraging now, we've done a pilot, and so this tool, really what we found is, of course, we can move at speed, but it also allows us to really continue to allow the tool to learn and update vulnerabilities and threats. And so it's really, in the pilot phase, it was really successful, and that is the step now that once validated, we wanted to offer it as a full service. So the Cyber Collaboration Center, for anybody that wants to work with that team, C5 will start to sign people up as part of that service.
I suspect you'll have some takers on that. And I think that's really exciting. Very exciting. Cybercom 2.0. Can you give us a quick update there?
Yeah, so one of the things Congress asked us to do was a series of studies. So we actually are delivering 5 to 6 studies this year that Congress has asked us to complete. And we've done a defense science board that looks at our overall warfighting architecture. We've done our AI study. We're doing a look at our headquarters. But the largest study is around our force generation model. And so what the law asked us to look at was our current model, which is how we were structured in FY23. So before we received all of our enhanced budget control and those things. So that was one bumper of the study, is the far left was what we were currently doing. The far right was to evaluate whether or not we should have a cyber service. And the middle was some hybrid in between that allowed the department to be more effective. So we've done a portion of that. What our next phase of that study is to update the secretary. So as we look at Cyber Command 2.0, it's really to take us to the next step. So we've existed as a combatant command for 6 years. We really built this force 10 years ago. So we're really built off of the challenges that we faced between 2014 and 2018. What does Cyber Command need to look like for the 10 years going forward? And how do we structure that force, and how do we generate that force? This is our opportunity to go in with ASD Cyber and have a conversation with the DepSecDef and the SecDef about what that vision looks like. And it's all going to come back to how do we ensure that we've got the force we need? How do we generate that force within the department? How do we equip that force and really do it at speed and scale? And then how do we leverage technology? And so we have all the pieces. It's now an opportunity for us to be able to go into the department and say, this is what we think we need to look like. And then really to be able to get guidance from the secretary.
So when Cyber Command was established, there was the thought that, eventually Cybercom and NSA would stand on their own. Has that been part of this look? And is there any recommendation there?
No,
or
because
any thoughts there?
What we've had in the current secretary and the DNI, they came together to say, let's take a look at this. And really, because Congress would ask on an annual basis. And so they commissioned a study led by General Dunford that looked at the dual hat. And what they came back with is the dual hat is the best thing for the nation when we think about these two organizations. The synergy we get, the speed that we are able to operate at. And the other thing is, we don't have to think about deconflicting in two separate organizations. Mm-hmm. We can get very clear guidance, we can move out together and be able to produce outcomes much more quickly and much more focused on our adversaries than focused on process inside. It's been hugely beneficial. And I think the other part is Cyber Command's become a much better partner with the National Security Agency once Cyber Command got the authorities to operate in cyberspace. And I think we're realizing the benefits of that.
Okay, last question. There are a number of students and interns here in the audience. Many of them aspiring to be either a SIGINT analyst or a cyber operator. What advice do you give to them?
So I'm going to steal at this moment. So for any of the NSA people that are in the crowd, we had this huge benefit of Governor Moore from Maryland coming to see us. And I asked him this question, and what advice would you have? And his answer was take risks, take chances, go after things that make you uncomfortable, because that's where you learn. And I'll add to that, do things that make you uncomfortable, and also make sure that you do things that make sure that you're part of something bigger than yourself. And that's what we enjoy out of government service, or all of you that are enabling us every day in terms of what we do. So those would be our two things. Take chances, take risks, learn new things, and do something that's bigger than yourself.
Well, General Haugh, you are certainly doing something that's bigger than yourself. We appreciate your service, and we really appreciate you being here this evening. And a big shout out to your wife, Sherry, who is with us also. It's a team. It is a team effort. We all know that. So thanks for coming out tonight.
So speaking of teams, thank you to the INSA team. Also, thank you to Tish and General Haugh for joining us this evening for this insightful discussion. Also part of our team are our sponsors. Many of you all are in the room, and I'd just like to recognize you all. Ariel Secure Technologies, AT&T, Amazon Web Services, CACI, Clearance Jobs, Deloitte, GDIT, Google for Government, Leidos, and by the way, Leidos is the floral sponsor, so fight over the flowers and everybody take some of those home. Lockheed Martin, Mantech, Microsoft, Nightwing, Oracle Cloud, SAIC, Strongbox Cyber Solutions, Texas A&M Bush School of Government and Public Service, and the Potomac Advocates. And thank you all for coming. Please drive safely and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks again.